Alright, so we got the seat out of the vehicle, and if for any reason you forget to raise it all the way up before taking it out, go ahead and put on some power leads. Your power will be here, farthest inboard for the driver's seat, or you can just think about it closest to the belt buckle, and your ground will be on the other side. Just those two big connectors there. Hook it up to a battery charger that gives you constant voltage, and off you go. So let's get our seatbelt plugs out of there. Got two little clips, one right there, one right there. Helps to have a little bit of back pressure with some other sort of tool. Just kind of get that. Get that, thank you. There are some zip ties holding stuff together that you may have to clip. Got this one over here. We can leave that. All right, so we got that out of there. Go ahead and undo your motor plug. Pop that bad boy out, and we'll go ahead and hit taking the seat right off the sliders. Alright, now that our plug is out of there, let's go ahead and get this plastic trim off so we can get this seat out of here. This one's nice and easy. Got this clip right here. Go ahead and pop that. Come straight forward. Nice and easy. Alright. Got our 19 in the back. We got 13s up front. Apologies while I went to go find my 13. 13's up front. Go ahead and loosen those up a little bit. Before I forget, we'll go ahead and pop that off. Thank you. And just be careful, as the sliders are not the most structurally stable things in the world. And there we have it. Seat is off and ready to go to storage. Alright, so we will be putting this 9281 outward bending one on the outside of this flange. This is also where you can play with a couple millimeters of space to try and save you a washer or two. Just remember, flip the stud one way or the other depending on what you're doing. They are keyed, so be careful with that. Now, For the rear, we'll be using the small black washers that come with it. Those will slide in the bracket. Just make sure it's going all the way through and not bottoming out on the bracket itself. Just put that on finger tight for now. Now for the front, go ahead and pop that plastic part off. We'll be using silver washers. These will go on the outside for this setup. Make sure it's keyed into the slider flange. Go ahead and get that finger tight for now as well, so we can really test the seat. Other side, got our 9281 outward fans, outward bend. I guess we will go ahead and clip that. Pop that out of there. As with before, we'll be using black washer on nut. Make sure that slides through that bracket all right. Powder coat can go on a little thick some days, so you may have to smack it once or twice. Again, make sure that's keyed into the slider flange. Go ahead and start a couple threads. Personally, I like to use this front portion with the bracket that comes with the kit. I'll go ahead and slide seatbelt plug wires right through there. Also, I should have mentioned this one is going on the inside of the flange to try and move us as much outboard as possible. Goodbye, plastic thingy. Silver washer. Alright, off camera I went ahead and test fit everything because no one wants to see me lugging that around. And we'll go ahead and start putting stuff in there. Now, I know for this setup I need 2 of the large washers on the outboard side and 1 small washer on the inboard side. Handy trick that can definitely save you some headache at the end of the day. You can go ahead and pre-place your bolts. Sometimes the powder coat's even thick enough you can thread it in there a little bit and it'll hold itself in place very nicely. All right. Also not a bad idea to get a general idea of what you want your rake to be before putting it in the car. Although, not the end of the world. See, there's one that threads. Very handy. All right. Go ahead and get our seat. Although, should also side note, it is not a bad idea to go ahead and try threading your bolts into the holes beforehand. Sometimes they can be a little thick from the factory. Definitely helps installation to loosen those up a little bit. All right, went ahead and put everything down a little bit more. However, did not tighten fully. It does make putting it in, lining up the sliders in the vehicle a lot easier. We will Put in our window switch bracket real quick though. Helps if I put it in the right direction. And this goes on the outside of the bracket. You can also put it here if you want. Some seats it gets in the way, some it doesn't. Depends on personal preference, really. Alright, now that those are all tightened down, go ahead and grab your window switch. Oh, side note, if you got the wiring harness, now's a good time to go ahead and clip that little black nub there. Doesn't take much. Look at your orientation. You can always swap it around depending on if the buttons move the opposite direction of what you were expecting them to. Go ahead and pop that in there. And then your little spacer helps lock everything in place. Just fit quite nicely. Alright, now for our wiring harness. Go ahead and line those up. First time, it's going to be a little snug as the clips open up a little bit. As long as it's in there, making contact, it'll be good. Fairly straightforward from there. Go ahead and clip that in. This will go to your chassis power, and you can go ahead and plug that back in as well when it gets in there. So now everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and torque everything back down. Our next step is going to be fitting that sub bar down in there while we have it out of the vehicle. Makes this a hell of a lot nicer. So go ahead and just adjust it out until it about snugly fits underneath the seat. Try and leave yourself some room in between the brackets. It'll make putting the sliders back in the car easier. You'll be using the two larger holes behind the button mounts. And before you put the seat in there, remember your lap belts. Otherwise, this will be a pain. Alright, so we got that side of the sub belt snugged down. And we've got our 3 seat slider bolts. Not snug per se, but they're tightened down enough that the slider can move back and forth. And as you can see over here, we're a little off. So, since we got some slack in the sub belt, go ahead and, I ain't got a little time for that. Go ahead and tighten that up a little bit. As you'll see, tightening that helps pull everything into place. Now, this is a good way to do it because it puts stress on side mounts instead of the sliders, and that'll stop them from binding up too much if you're having an issue with that. As soon as we start going tight, everything lines up nicely. Beautiful.